Aloha nui a kākua pau. Aloha nui a oe e haunani lo ihi loa ali ike ia oe. Ia oe e kamanao ki aloha no. Aloha e kupuna linsi, kupuna apo, po'o, ahu, akana, me ahuna e leila. And then Kila Ma'o, I didn't get her name. Okay, aloha. Go ahead.
Aloha, my name is Kainana Francisco from Hilo. I work for the U.S. Forest Service, conservation, and I'm here with Auntie Kekuhi and then my boss, Christian. But we were asked to just come and share with you some of the work that we do. So we're gonna be kind of talking about several things, all relating to Ohia. And so, yeah, okay. Introduce yourself.
Sure.
And then maybe just.
Aloha mai kako. My name's Christian Jardina. I'm with the U.S. Forest Service, and I work with Kainana, and we have been lucky enough to work with Kekuhi over the last 10 years on various projects, starting with Kamauleho, which very excited to be here because it's kind of full circle from conversations with Chair Lindsay and with Kama Hopkins. Yeah, that's me.
Go ahead.
Sure. So one of the things that is bringing us together right now is rapid Ohia death. Many of you have heard of rapid Ohia death. It's something that threatens Ohia, bioculturally the most important tree in Hawaii. It's a disease that arrived here sometime in the last 30 years, probably transported via an ornamental plant that came in through the many channels that ornamental plants come in on. It's Ceratocystis fimbriata, and we actually have two types of the disease now confirmed. And the two types of disease affect the tree differently, but in both cases it kills the tree. And for many of the folks who live in Puna, starting now in Kau, people who live in Kau and in Hilo, you see the impacts of this disease all around your home, your parks, and in the forest. And while the connection to Halau Ohia might not be real obvious right now, what we're hoping to do is to connect the work that we're doing with this disease to Halau Ohia for you all, and to see how important that connection is for moving forward, not just with this disease, but with managing our natural resources, our cultural resources, and the Aina generally. So I'll go to the next slide. This is an example of a stand that's been hit by one of the two types of rapid Ohia death, the Ceratocystis fimbriata. In this case, mortality is pretty high. So 90% of the trees in the stand have died from being exposed to the disease. We think we're in the initial stages of the disease. It already affects tens of thousands of acres on Hawaii Island, mostly on the southern half of the island. And it has already killed tens of thousands of Ohia trees. And one of the concerns, obviously, is that this disease can spread, and it has spread to other parts of the southern half of the island, and we're very concerned about what this means for the enormous block of Ohia trees that occur across Hawaii Island and on other islands. There's a There's a Rapid Ohia Death Working Group. It's made up of many different partners. It basically is a monthly gathering of individuals who have a very intense agenda. We have a bunch of tasks that we try to accomplish every month in our meeting, and we go forth in the next month and try to do all kinds of things. We're in the middle of a strategic planning process right now that's going to map out how we deal with this disease over the next 5 to 10 years. The map there, the red areas show confirmed, potential rapid Ohia death cases. You see that most of, I don't have a pointer, but most of the red in Puna, that's kind of our epicenter for the disease, and there are reasons why we think that it's arrived there. But it looks like from aerial mapping and some of our on-the-ground work that we have rapid Ohia death in other parts of the island, and we're concerned about it moving north. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kainana.
So several of us that were on the working group are in this program, Halau Ohia. We'll explain a little bit more about that later. But we were sitting in one of the meetings, and this question, a very innocent, very standard question when it comes to management sorts of issues, came up. And it was, this was towards the end of last year, coming into the new year. And a lot of the working group members were kind of worried about what rapid Ohia death and the Ohia forests and all of this stuff would mean when Mary Monarch was coming around in a few months. And so this question was posed, how do we get the hula community to participate in the prevention of the spreading of ROD? And mind you, this is a group of people that, agency folks, organizations that approach management issues from a very top-down kind of a perspective. That's just because of the system. And so when this question was posed, those of us that were in Halau Ohia with Kekuhi, we were like, oh, we know somebody who can help us kind of address these issues. And so we ended up working with Kekuhi, and out of sort of all of our concern for what the influx of visitors to Hilo would mean for the spread of ROD, we kind of sort of tried to address this question, but not from a top-down perspective, more from like a it wasn't from the how do we get people to care about something that we think is important, because Ohia is obviously important to everybody, not just from a biological perspective, but it's culturally one of the most important plants, especially to hula people, that is laka. And so we already know that they care about the Ohia. It's how do we kind of combine our efforts to take care of her, and how to share those concerns together. And so that's sort of the platform that we ended up approaching, instead of the normal DOFA issuing some kind of a statement that restricts people from accessing forest or putting bans on the collection of Ohia and those types of things that might seem a little bit more standard practices for management. And so out of that effort, we decided to not ask that question that's typical. We ended up coming together as a community, starting off with Kekuhi writing a letter to the people of the hula world, and just sort of like everyone agreeing like, yes, Ohia is our family. It's an extension of who we are as a people. How can we come together to take care of this resource, to take care of this family member, in a way that allows us to continue to do what we do as hula people, but doesn't sacrifice the longevity of the health of the forests. And so there was no I think there was some confusion, but there was no ban put on the collection of Ohia. There was no restrictions on those sorts of things. It was more putting out messages and helping people become informed of what the issue is, and then giving them ways to do what they need to do without sort of jeopardizing the spread of the ROD, the fungus. And so one of the things that came out of this effort was the creation of a new fire ceremony, Pua Ena Ena. And so what that ceremony allowed people to do is bring their kinolau, their lei, and all their hakina from the competition and just from the time that we were all spending together in Hilo during during this festival and bring it to what we were calling Kiahi o Hi'iaka, the fires of Hi'iaka. Bring all of that energy, all of that sweat that they put into it, all of the physical manifestations of their energy, and bring it to these fires and sort of just offer it through that channel. And then the ashes from that fire, we ended up taking back to the forests of Hilo, the upper forests of Hilo that needed the help. So it addressed the issue of not wanting to spread the rod, but in a way that Hula people could understand. And then just sort of the messaging, we did it from a way that Hula people could understand, like the language we used. We spoke in the ways that they spoke, kind of a thing. And so these are just some images from the ceremony. People ask us a lot, like, oh, how effective were you, Did everyone participate? And to me, it wasn't really about how many people we could reach. It was the fact that the state and all of these agencies that we were working with that's trying to address this issue of ROD, it was the fact that they supported us in how we thought the message needed to get out there. That I think that was the change, that was the effective, that was like the biggest outcome I think from our perspective, is just the fact that they recognized that their sort of standard protocols and procedures for doing outreach weren't gonna be effective. And so doing it the way we did, I think that sort of changed perspectives, and that's sort of leading into this idea of Halau Ohia, which is Kekuhi's stewardship training program that we started. I think it's sort of branched off from these ideas that they've been talking about for the past several years from Kamauliho, and then sort of, I don't know, just coming into fruition, actually teaching and helping people to understand more Hawaii perspectives, and gaining skills in Hawaii life ways. And so just to kind of give a quick overview of the program, it's a unique professional development program for all the stewards of Hawaii, no matter what level you are, what organization you are. It includes everyone, no matter what background you have or Hawaii perspective you have or how much experience you have. It's more of a community building program. So bringing together stewards from all walks of life who are just aloha aina, malama aina people, and having them become a halau, right? So this idea of learning together to move forward. And we work with Kekuhi and we learn just different Hawaii cultural skills and life ways and try to start to understand how those things can be applied to our professional and personal lives. And so the whole idea of Halau Ohia is based on this, enhancing the ways that we engage with our Aina community and our Kanaka community. And so to just kind of give you a brief overview, it's a multi-tier structure to the learning. So we started off this earlier this year with the Papahua class, and so that's sort of like your beginner intro basic learning skills. So we learn things like oli and chant and language and real brief introductions to different things that can help people build onto those skills. And it goes all the way to Papa Ohia Laka, which is a little bit more intense learning. It's sort of building up to just building upon the different experiences of Papahua. And so, let me see. The first cohort we started was early this year. We just finished in July with that class, and that first set of sessions was supported by Forest Service funding, and then in collaboration with Kekuhi and her program. We had 80 stewards come through and participate at different levels. So just the fact that some of them took interest into it and signed up for the program, all the way to people who were coming to every single class, participated in every single way that they could, and took full advantage of the program. We had about 80 people come through, over 90 hours of professional development.
Can you speak to who the students were?
Oh, okay. And so students, we had, like I said, all different levels across all different organizations. But we had several for-profit environmental companies, some like nurseries, native plant nurseries, Hawaii Forest and Trail. We had education institutions, UH Hilo, Manoa, Hawaii Community College, and these are different offices within those programs too. So we didn't have just students, but we had professors and administrators and things like that, and community groups. So we had some advisory council folks for the Puvawa Advisory Council, had some folks represented, and then just people that from the community that are just in Malamaina kinds of things. We had nonprofit organizations, so Nature Conservancy, Hawaii Pacific Parks Associations, Friends of groups. We had private agencies with KS. We had different government agencies, so Forest Service, some military, Oahu Army Natural Resource Program, Fish and Wildlife folk, USGS, the parks, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, and Kaloko Honokohau folks. And then we had a lot of different state agency folks, so Department of Forestry and Wildlife. Ohio was actually represented too, with Shane. And then some Watershed Alliance folks. And so within that group of different organizations, we had from your technicians who are pounding fence every day and doing management of the lands, like on the ground, to students, PhD students, undergrads, graduate students, to like my level of just like helping to support education programs and research programs, to like Christian's level of like management, researchers, to his boss's level with directors of organizations. We had the broadest range of folks in the program, and then with different background experiences too. So you have some people who are very, very much in the Hawaii lifestyles. You know, they are Hawaiian, they're practitioners, you know, they live hula, they live la'au lapa'au, like that kind of background, all the way to people like just off the plane. They have this view of Hawaii that they don't really know, or they've been here for a long time but haven't really had the opportunity to sort of learn Hawaii things, just sort of, you know, operating on a surface level. So we had everybody and anyone who wanted to participate come together in this halau format and start learning together and moving together as a group, as a cohort. And so we just finished in July. We had it was a 5-session program, so we had 4 classroom sessions, and then a 3-day weekend experience, and then a community ho'ike to showcase what we were learning, and yeah, and so
Do you want to talk? Go ahead, keep going.
okay. So this is, I just wanted to share some photos from our 3-day weekend experience. And so we visited different community projects on this island that kind of showed what stewardship and connection to place, and having that fuel their stewardship efforts, what that means and what that looks like. And so the first place we visited was in Hamakua with Noel Peralto folks at Koholalele. And so a lot of the curriculum is, it's focused on this idea of ka'ao, right? The stories of Hawaii. And not just like learning stories about places, but learning stories so that you can find connections to the people and the places that you're taking care of, or that you're charged to help support. And so we go and visit these places, and we learn from the hosts, about their families and their connection to their place and what that connection means to them as stewards of that place. Sort of just to build upon this idea of, I guess, cosmology and genealogy, and that's just more. And so that's this. We also visited the Makali'i folks in Mahukona. And then we ended up in Kahalu'u in Kona with KS folks. And then that's it.
Next slide.
Okay. Oh, and then our
I'm wearing the same dress.
and then just some images from our ho'ike. Yeah, and then this is just a quote from one of our learners about their experience and about the opportunity that they had to join Halau. That's kind of all we have.
I think this is an informational session. And what was important was to bring what Papa Mauna Kea was talking about, and to bring to encourage the family system in a larger gathering of folks who are primary in taking care of our resources, who didn't know how to behave like a family. And that, like Papa Iopa says, is the most important thing for living an island life, is to know how to take care of our family. And so all we did was apply simple ohana techniques, Hawaii ritual, and some really simple stewardship basics, and brought different people together whose main kuleana is to make sure that the Ohia people don't disappear. That's their kuleana, and they cannot do that, and they cannot fulfill that obligation if they don't know how to behave like an ohana. And that's what Halau Ohia is all about. And as we malama and bring health back to the people, and as we malama and bring health back to the landscape, those things gotta happen simultaneously. They cannot happen apart from one another. They have to happen simultaneously. That's what Halau Ohia is all about. My grandmother says, teach everybody. You don't know who's gonna walk away from you doing what you taught them to do. Kia aloha noi a o ko a pau. Mahalo.